Going on, everybody? This is your tour guide around the SWAC C Wells coming at you with another video today. Y'all make sure y'all lock in with us. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and become a part of the SWACTalk family by becoming a member. 99 cents gets you a membership to the YouTube channel. We have special perks coming at you. We're going to be dropping special members only videos and shorts. I'm going to have rants and reactions to different things that I want to put there. So if you want to get everything, man, become a member of the Swag Talk crew for 99 cents and get down, man. And so we're going to still be bringing y'all a lot of stuff, swag smoke and everything like that, and all our normal videos. But we also bring y'all that membership tier. So get down with that. Hit check out the Facebook and Instagram, both Swag Talk, Twitter Swag Talk 76. And now let's get on with the show, man. Let's do it. All right, everybody, what is going on? How y'all doing? Welcome to today's edition of Swag Talk. Of course, this is a show we cover the swag inside and out, and I am your tour guide around the swag C Wells coming at you. And today we're gonna have us a little preseason all SWAC show. We're going to start it off with the offense. Media day is right around the corner, so I decided we'll go ahead and do our own little all SWAC show, and we'll do a first and second team offense, and then Sunday we'll drop our second team defense, first and second team defense and special teams, um and that'll be that, man. So this was a fun little thing to put together. And we're not going to waste any time, man. We'll go ahead and jump right into it. We're going to start off, obviously, with our first team offense. The swag, they do quarterback, running back, two wide receivers, tight end, five offensive linemen. I decided to do that, but I also decided to put a flex guy in there. Like if you're a fantasy football type person, your flex guy it can be anything. Your running back, extra receiver, extra tight end. So I decided to do that just because I felt like I had I had a little bit more room for some people to be a part of this. So this should be fun. Obviously, some people probably not gonna agree with some things, and that's all good. Now I will say the offensive line, man. That's that's a crapshoot. So I thought I came up with 10 guys that deserve it. If you have a guy who I miss, and blame it on my head and not on my heart. O line is tough, man, and if it's you really have to kind of dig in the crates for that. And I thought I did. So with that being said, man, let's go ahead and start off with the first team offense. Of course, this offense will be led by uh, Jacoby and Morgan from Jackson State. Uh, One of the top returning quarterbacks in the league. Like I said, there's not a lot of huge names. Now, before I even go into that, I will say. Um, because I'm not sure of if who's gonna start at A&M. I didn't put either A&M quarterback on there because I just felt like I don't know. Of course, you could put Higgins in one of these spots. You can probably put Quad Brown in one of these spots. I thought they both were they both had really good numbers. But I decided to go with the quarterbacks I went with. So last season, Jacoby and Morgan, 14 games of action, 163 of 256, 21 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 2,236 yards, 159 yards per game on the season. Of course, he had a couple ups and downs. He had a couple games where he may not have been at his best, but when he was on, and that offense clicked, and he had a great celebration bowl. And he probably, like I said, your mileage may vary, but to me, he is the guy coming in to the league right now into the season as one of the top QBs in the league. Obviously, this is wide open this season, so I don't think that you could go wrong with anybody that you put in that spot. Um, that's just my choice. So of course, there's gonna be some up and downs about that, but that's my quarterback. My running backs, I felt like shouldn't have been as much of a debate. My first running back was Ja'Cory Sewell from Alcorn. 12 games of action, 142 yards, 807 yards on the season. 5.7 yards per carry, 6 touchdowns, longer 82, average 67.3 yards per game on the season. I think this guy's gonna be 1,000 yard rusher this season. I don't really see any reason why not. With they have a new quarterback and a lot of things are gonna lean on the run game, and he ran for over 800 yards last season with a quarterback next to him that ran for 700 and that ran for 727 yards and and also had 128 carries. So some of that workload is gonna probably be translated to him. Of course, some of it's gonna be translated to guys behind him. And if the quarterbacks that they have can run, they're gonna get their share of carries. But I feel like he's gonna get a few extra carries, and a few extra carries can equal up to 1,000 yards. So I do think he's gonna be there. Um, my other first team running back was Thad Franklin from FAMU, 120 yards, 653 yards, 5.4 yards per carry, 5 touchdowns, along with 70, 54.4 yards per game. Of course, he has a running mate right there that could be on this list, and they didn't necessarily get the workload that they maybe should have. Although 120 carries is still pretty solid. I do expect him to run the ball more this season, so I think his numbers are gonna increase. Um, Obviously, he's a guy that can get the job done for you, and that definitely makes things better for your offense. You can't go wrong with. There's a few backs in the league I think that are going to be really good, and you can't go wrong with any of them. This is a position I think you can name your guy and be right. Next up is the first team offensive line, and of course, you know, we got Ashton Grable from FAMU, a guy who's been all SWAC multiple times. Chris Garcia from Southern, Tyrell Lawrence from Alabama A&M, um, DeAndre Towns Blue from Jackson State, and I have Desmond Daniels also from Bama State to round out the offensive line. Receiver, um, again, this one could have been juggled around because one of these guys is he put up a lot of numbers in his previous stop, and that's Nathan Rembert. I could not lead this guy off. I don't know if he's gonna put up the number that he put up last season, being in that group of receivers that they have now. He may not be the top guy, but coming into the season, I still think he should get that recognition. So I have Nathan Rembert, who transferred from Valley to Jackson State. He could have been on the second team, but I decided to put him on the first just because he is a returning first team guy, and I wanted to give him that respect. And then I have Malik Huggins from Bethune-Cookman. So looking at what Rembert did at Valley last season, 12 games of action, 70 catches, 1,038 yards, 4 touchdowns, longer 76, 14.8 yards per catch, 5.8 receptions per game, which actually tied for the league lead and 86 and a half yards per game. He actually also tied for the league lead in reception. So he was, 1A, 1B in receiving. Like I said, Malik Huggins is next. He had 12 catches last season, 12 games, 37 catches, 543 yards, 3 touchdowns, longer 62, 14.7 yards per catch. He averaged 3.1 receptions per game and 45.3 yards per game. And he also is a solid return guy. So you can probably find him on one of these lists as a guy as a return guy. He was second in the league in punt returns. Uh, with 12 returns for 187 yards, 1 touchdown, along with 77, average 15.6 yards per punt return. So he's an all-purpose guy, and should have a solid season this upcoming season. And my tight end is Dupree Fuller from Southern. Um, finished the season with 30 catches, 370 yards, 2 touchdowns, longer 31, 12.3 yards per catch, 2.3 catches per game, and 28.5 yards per game as a receiving tight end. So um, a lot of the top tight ends are gone. But I did think even, last season, Dupree Fuller, he was a very solid weapon for Southern. I think he's going to continue to be that. So I thought he should get that recognition as well. Moving on to the second team. And again, my second team offense, a lot of these guys could have been first team. Now are a few guys that missed this list that could have been on this list. Um, oh, I I threw in a flex guy, then I'm gonna almost skip him. And this guy, I'd be totally ashamed if I did miss him because this guy's a dog. And he is the reason why I made this flex list. I mean, I'm not even gonna front. Um, and that's Travis Terrell from Jackson State. Obviously, this guy is an all-purpose dude. Uh, he can get it done running the ball. He can get it done in returns. He has led the league in all-purpose yardage, average 108 all-purpose yards per game. Finished with 459 yards on the ground, 95 receiving yards. Had 300 punt return yards. Led the league in punt returns, and had 551 kickoff returns yards. So he's a guy who can score in a multitude of ways. Had 2 kickoff return touchdowns on the season. Um, also had 4 rushing touchdowns. So this is a guy that's going to find the end zone in a multitude of ways, and like he I really wanted to put him in my running back spot, but I had 2 running backs there. I didn't really feel like he was a second team running back. So I was like, bro, I didn't want to just make him a return guy. So he's the reason why I made this flex spot for this list. So when you can make somebody make a position for a list, man, you are a dog. And so I wanted to really salute him on that. Next up is our second team offense, and like I said, at quarterback. There were a couple guys who you can go with. I went with Cam Ransom. I've been on the Cam Ransom train. I might be the only person outside of Daytona that that is on that train. I think he's a really good quarterback. He had his ups and downs. His offense had his ups and downs. I like what I saw when I saw him play. Even though the team, didn't necessarily have the greatest game, and he had some offensive line struggles. But last season he finished in 11 games of action, 164, 262, 5 interceptions, excuse me, 11 touchdowns, um, 1,843 yards through the air, longer 70, completed 62% of his passes, and had 167 and a half yards per game. And he was actually third in the league in completion percentage. So that means, I mean, obviously they don't do a lot of down the field, like deep shots. They like a lot of screens and stuff. But still, what I mean, I don't discount being accurate. Because there's guys, who I like a lot who, was barely 50% completion rate. So I think, a guy like that, he does deserve some recognition. And like I said, will he finish second team all conference? Who knows? He's, I just, I think he's a guy that I like a lot. So I chose to put him on the next up is our second team running backs. And my first one is another guy I like to watch, big bruising back. That's Lamaje McDowell from Purview. 12 games of action, 115 carries, 482 yards, 4.2 yards per carry, 7 touchdowns on the season, longer 31, 40.2 yards per game. This is a guy, with an offense being what it's gonna be this season. Don't really know. He should still get a lot of carries, and being a guy who can definitely flourish at least in short yardage, can always help a new team out. There you can have a thunder and lightning situation with somebody. He's gonna get his carries, he's gonna get his touchdowns. And having somebody else maybe take a workload off of him can help. But I do think he's still a really solid back. And he worthy of this list. Also on this list is BJ Curry. from Pine Bluff, 123 carries in 12 games, 509 yards, 4.1 yard per carry, four touchdowns, 28 yards was his long, 42.4 yards per game. He's gonna get a lot of work. And I'm just gonna put it that way because this offense doesn't have a lot returning, and I like the offensive line situation is up in the air, but um, he's gonna get a lot of work. I don't know how his number's gonna end up, but he's gonna be a busy dude. So I think he can he catch the ball in the backfield as well. I mean he had an 85-yard reception against Southern, so he can be a three down guy. And I think I don't know if, like I said, I don't know if his numbers are gonna be better this season, but coming into the season, I thought he had a solid um season last year, and that's as good a foundation as any to make this list. Next up is offensive line. I have Joshua Trask from Southern, Taj Martin from Grambling, Jeremiah Rogers from Pine Bluff, Charles Davis from FAMU, and Caden Bowers from Prairie View. Um, my receivers, um, all right, and my receivers, I have had to make a couple of adjustments on it. But I have Jonas Fortillion from Jackson State, deep ball threat, 15.3 yards per catch, 14 games, 41 catches, 627 yards, 11 touchdowns. Those 11 touchdowns led the league, long as 70, 2.9 catches per game, and 44.8 yards per catch. Also on this list, I have Darren Morris from Southern. Finished the season with 37 catches, 434 yards, three touchdowns, longer 40, 11.7 yards per catch, 3.1 yard catches per game, and 36.2 uh, yards per game. Uh, the second team tight end was honestly, man, it was pretty tough. Um, and now I don't now I for whatever reason I can't find. I have a guy and now I can't find his stats, so I'm gonna apologize for that. But my second team tight end is a guy named Jackson Isaac from Pine Bluff. He is actually the leading receiver returning for Pine Bluff. I think he had about 9 or 10 catches and about 100. I think he had 109 yards and one touchdown last season. So obviously not a great statistical mark, but I think there were a lot of great tight ends lost. So that was a position that you kind of had to fill in the gap. And my flex guy is Trenton Leary from Texas Southern. Finished the season with 41 catches, 417 yards in 11 games, three touchdowns, 32 yards. Was a long 10.2 yard per catch, 3.7 yards per catches per game, and 37.9 yards per game. And he's also a guy who can get it done in the return game. So definitely look out for him in that aspect this upcoming season. Playmaker all over, finished 10th and 18th in the league in kickoff returns, averaged 15.8 yards per return, had nine returns for 142 yards on the season, and longer 36. So definitely a guy that's going to be able to be all over the place. And he's another all-purpose guy that you can put the ball in his hands and let him work. So that's our first and second team offense. Like I said, Sunday we'll be back with our first and second team defense and special teams. And that'll do it for us, man. I thank y'all for tuning in. Y'all make sure y'all hit that like button and that subscribe button. And we'll catch y'all on the rebound. Peace.